A conservative activist is leading a cleanup effort in California, notably Los Angeles, where they're reporting 50 tons of trash have been removed from this area by a group of, I think it's a couple hundred activists. Not necessarily all Trump supporters are conservatives, but certainly led by a I believe Scott Presler, Trump supporter. They call him a conservative activist. Here's the funny thing. This is not the first time he's done this. In response to this big political debate, Scott got a bunch of people together and they went and cleaned up West Baltimore. I think it's fantastic. We saw this heavy criticism from the Baltimore Sun. We assume it was pure motives that led a Trump supporter to launch a cleanup in Cummings district, right? Well, it's not the only criticism he's received, but my response is, so what? Who cares? The very worst case scenario is it's a political stunt made to make conservatives and Trump supporters look good. It does. It does make them look good. It's like, it's so crazy to me that people would be upset with a bunch of Trump supporters getting around going, I got an idea to make all of us look great. Let's go clean up the streets. It's like, you're correct. That will make you look good. You're doing a good thing. Volunteer cleanup. Could you imagine like a bunch of Trump supporters? Like, is this, I imagine there's like a bunch of, like, this is how the left views Trump supporters. They're all sitting around like twirling mustaches going, how can we convince the public we're good people? I know, let's volunteer to clean up garbage in the streets. That'll trick them. And I'm like, what do you think's happening? It's a bunch of activists who decided to go take action and do something. I don't care what the motivation is for the most part. Like, I mean, I guess if they're getting, I don't know, some kind of weird drug deal and there's like a secret ulterior motive behind what they're doing, sure. But if it's like a political thing and they're trying to make conservatives look good, they are. That's it. Like, I worked for a bunch of environmental organizations. For those that aren't familiar, I've mentioned it several times because environment has been a big issue with like Greta Thunberg and the climate strike stuff. But yeah, I used to work for Greenpeace and several other nonprofits. And there's a reason why I did that. Right now in Washington, D.C., a bunch of, resistance, what is it called? Extinction Rebellion people are blocking the streets with a giant boat. Now, these people have received some criticism from the right. I think it warrants criticism for sure. However, I do appreciate this form of protest. The first thing I'll say, we'll do a little compliment sandwich, I guess. Well, maybe not even. I'll just criticize them. But the point is, the first thing I want to say is this is how you're supposed to protest, okay? No, nonviolent civil disobedience. Don't go around smashing windows and throwing bricks and beating people. That's wrong. However, what they're doing is illegal. They will be arrested. They will face the ramifications of it. But hopefully, this is going to reduce the chance that people are hurt. I know there's been criticism that, emergency service vehicles might not be able to get through. Well, listen, man. We can't just have a society where it's like there's never any socially acceptable protest that might break the law. Civil disobedience sometimes has to push boundaries. They will face the ramifications of it. But this is the kind of protest I absolutely respect. I mean, like I mentioned, I worked for Greenpeace. They're not violent. They just go around. I mean, Greenpeace kind of crosses the line. I'm very critical of the organization having worked there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to sing their praises. I think they're really, really bad for the most part. But we should be like, okay, cool. If they're going to protest, do it like this. However, here comes the criticism. There's a reason why I never did anything like this. There's a reason why I went around smiling and shaking hands and giving people high fives. The most effective way you can actually protest or make change is to talk to people with a smile on your face and try and find some kind of compromise solution or just tell them about what you feel and what you think is going on. This is really effective in generating a lot of attention. So this can lead to a debate. Okay, I get it. Respectable. However, so can this. When a bunch of Trump supporters, conservatives, and volunteers go and clean up the streets, this also gets press attention. I believe, I don't have the story pulled up, but there's a bunch of local news outlets reporting on the cleanup at the time. So they were able to generate press without obstructing roads by doing something positive. And what did they get for it? Criticism. Are they going to criticize Extinction Rebellion and say we assume it's pure motives that's driving these people to block the street down? Maybe they're being paid to be there. Oh, that's the kind of conversation that happens all the time. But here's the thing. You look at what Scott Presler did. Let's actually look at what Scott Presler did and read the story. And it's direct action. It's the opposite of violent. It is helping the community. It is doing a great service for free. It's sending a great message. Meanwhile, the climate protesters are linking arms and locking themselves in the street, which I get, and again, can respect, but I don't find it to be particularly effective in actually making change. You're making people angry and upset. Check out this. What do you think people are going to say when they hear a bunch of conservatives got together and actually cleaned up the streets? They're going to be like, oh, I'm really glad they did that. That made everything better for us. Now they might be willing to listen. So there are potential pitfalls in whether or not the Republicans actually want to deal with climate change issues. But my advice to the left, and they've done this in the past, and they should do it again. Think about all of those people, the millions on the climate strike. What if instead of a climate strike where they went around like giving speeches and waving signs, the strike was, we're going to go clean up? There was a big meme recently that was very apolitical about cleaning up the beach, a before and after shot of a dirty beach and then a clean beach. This is the kind of culture we need to be building up. So again, I'm not trying to throw shade at those protesters in D.C. For the most part. I do find it to be particularly ineffective, blocking the street, making people angry. But I think it's at least, it's a better protest than, say, Antifa, right? The Daily Caller reports. Conservative activist Scott Pressler organized a street cleanup at a homeless camp in Los Angeles on Saturday and estimated that he and his team cleared about 50 tons of trash from the area. That, to me, is crazy, but not, I mean, that's plausible. When you hear 50 tons, the first thing I thought was like, there's no way that's possible. That's 50 tons? That's ridiculous. But then I thought about this. I used to work for American Eagle Airlines, and we used to lift like 35,000 pounds per day. So when you think about 200 people times like how much I lifted in bag weight, then it's kind of like, oh yeah, that actually is fairly plausible. I don't think Scott went around weighing the trash, though. They say, Pressler has organized cleanups across the country in Baltimore, Los Angeles, Newark, New Jersey, and Virginia Beach. He's also planning to organize more cleanups in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Detroit in the coming months. That's awesome. This is amazing. He said, if people are feeling inspired, don't just tweet and Facebook. Stop talking, start doing. I agree. The pro-Trump activist said he got a group of around 200 volunteers together in Los Angeles by using Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to get his message out and encourage people to sign up for his 9-hour cleaning haul. It's amazing. It really is. His team was equipped with hazmat suits, many of which were donated, as well as masks to cover their mouths, heavy-duty gloves, and safety instructions to avoid being exposed to life-threatening diseases, including typhus, typhoid fever, and flesh-eating bacteria. And also, this freaked me out, needles. Okay, there's going to be needles. That's really dangerous. You get pricked. So, I hope everybody was safe and took these precautions. Quote, LA is completely different than Baltimore, Pressler said. How crazy is it that it's 2019, not the Stone Age, and here we are having to worry about these kinds of diseases? Trump came out and criticized California, but hey, California understands too. They acknowledge it. There have been articles written about the failures of the Democratic Party. They're holding a supermajority in LA, unable to solve this problem. They can't clean things up. And this highlights something really important. If Scott can go on Twitter and find volunteers to clean all this up, why can't the city, with all of their money, resources, and Democratic supermajority, do anything? How does this persist? Why are they stuck? Now, it's a serious question. I'm not necessarily blaming them. They're stuck. They're unable to do it. Perhaps it's corruption. Perhaps it's laziness. Or perhaps it's bureaucracy. I don't know. But it says something that a single individual can snap their fingers and say, I'm going to go do it. No questions asked. I'm going to go do it. He added that the CEO of a Christian homeless shelter in Los Angeles called Union Rescue Mission, Reverend Andy Bales, inspired him to take such protective measures after reading Bales' story about how he lost his leg to infection after stepping in human waste while helping homeless community members on Skid Row. Wow, that's seriously scary. When you take these suits off, you have to take them off inside out and then put them in a proper biohazard, a container. Pressler and his team measured the trash by filling up 3 10 to 12 ton dumpsters. And the dumpsters were overflowing, and those were just the 3 that were filled, plus other trash bins. In total, he said the amount of trash collected probably came to over 50 tons, but 50 even seemed like an accurate estimate. And the hard work has a lasting impact. Pressler recalled a woman living at the homeless camp he was cleaning in LA who thanked him for keeping his promise to clean up the area. He says, we did it. We actually did it. This is incredible. I mean, for those of you that are listening, you can't see this, but these images of the piles of trash and then the completed image, it's really, really something to behold. I don't care what your motivations are, Scott. I don't care if it's a bunch of Trump supporters secretly trying to improve Trump's image. I don't care. It works. End of story. I don't care. I've often thought about this and talked to people. How important are motivations at the end of the day? To an extent, they are, because you can predict what behavior comes next. But at least when we're talking about cleaning up trash, I don't care if you're doing it because you're secretly selling the trash to somebody who wants it. There are certain instances where the motivations are important, right? If they're doing something illegal with, like, I don't know, materials, and they're stealing or something, I don't know. The point is, if PR is what you're after, congratulations, good public relations is what you get. A bunch of conservatives twirling their mustache trying to convince everyone they're good people by volunteering to clean up trash? Yeah. So maybe they don't actually mean it. Maybe there's no pure motivation. You know what? If that's the worst of it, they just did something tremendous. They just did something great. So fine, whatever. I accept this as somebody who deeply cares about the environment, and then I want to know why LA can't do this. It's not like he's the only volunteer who does this. I want to stress there are left-wing environmental organizations that specialize in this kind of behavior. However, he's getting pressed for it because of the nature of the political debate and all that stuff. But I'm curious as to why these piles of trash even have to exist. So, good on him for continuing to do this throughout the country. There's a quote. This woman who was living in the homeless camp was wearing a beautiful black and white dress. And I told her she looked beautiful in it, and we just started up a conversation. After a bit of talking, she said, "I want to thank you for keeping your promise. So many people make these promises and they don't keep them." Yep. Don't I know it? Pressler also pointed to his time in Baltimore as an example of the long-lasting impact of his work. After his volunteer cleanup in the city, Trump called a disgusting rat and rodent-infested mess. Pressler went back a week later for a second cleanup and noticed that the area he and his volunteers hit about a month prior was still clean with very little debris. So I'm not surprised. When you have a big pile of trash, people say whatever and they throw trash on it. The pile gets bigger. You get rid of all the trash, people aren't going to dump trash. They're going to be like, well, you can't dump trash here. There's no, you know what I mean? When you see a dump, you use a dump. When you see a clean street, you might litter here and there. And so it's really important to make sure you clean up that litter so it doesn't pile up and become a dump again. But there you go. A month after the first cleanup, and the alleys only have a little bit of debris, something you could easily sweep up. This is why maintenance is so important. He recalled another woman he'd met living in the area, an 81-year-old standing just 4'10", compared to his 6'5", whom he made a promise to after his Baltimore cleanup to come back again. When Pressler came back a second time, keeping his promise, he wrote the same woman a handwritten thank you note and planted flowers in her garden. Besides the fact we planted bulbs for her, which will grow year after year, the next time we go to Baltimore, it will be her birthday. Homelessness numbers in Los Angeles County have increased by 12% from 2018 to 2019. Yeah, we get it. So, you know what, man? Of all of the things to be recognized for, to be famous for, Scott Pressler is doing it right. I wish these climate activists, instead of what happens, Donald Trump shows up and they show up with big, balloons and baby Trump and pig Trump. And I'm just thinking, I get it. They're different issues. You want to protest Trump? I'm totally cool. I get it. Protest is an American institution. It is protected under the First Amendment. And one thing I really, really love about this country is that you can show up and tell the president to go screw himself. It's wonderful. It truly is. Makes America great. Same as burning the American flag. Burning the American flag is one of the most powerful symbols of the freedom represented by the flag. Now, I personally detest, burning the flag, but I get it. It's a symbol. And this, what comes of burning the flag, there's a really great Penn and Teller bit they do about burning the flag. It's incredible. Penn and Teller, awesome, by the way, but here's the point. I get and respect people coming out to protest Trump, but I really wish we would see a lot more of this. Here's what I'd love to see. I would love to see dueling cleanups, where the left, not wanting to be outdone by the right, goes and stages their own cleanups and then brags about how much cleanup, how much they've cleaned. And then we can tally a number and be like, who cleaned up the most tons of trash? In the end, it wouldn't really be a competition. And I hope that, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? If these anti-Trump protesters were like, we will not be outdone, and went and cleaned up too, that would be epic. Or other volunteer activities. So anyway, I think you get the point. I'll wrap it up here. This is awesome. This is awesome stuff. Put politics aside and then make yourself look good by cleaning up trash. Congratulations, you do. You do. So this is really, really cool. Yeah, I'll leave it there. Stick around. Next segment will be coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel, and I will see you all then.